Worship.
Worship.
Say jana.
Say jana.
That person.
That person.
Maya. Attains. Raja. In Raja. Rajendranandana. Lord Krishna. The son of the son of Maharaj Nanda. Translation of one who worships the Lord by following in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Brajabhumi attains the Lord and gets to know him as he is known in the transcendental planet of Raja. There he is known as the son of Maharaj Nanda. Please repeat, one who worships the Lord by following in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Brajabhumi attains the Lord and gets to know him as he is known in the transcendental planet of Raja. There he is known as the son of Maharaj Nanda. The book is as follows. The inhabitants of Brajabhumi or Goloka Vrindavana know Krishna as the son of Maharaj Nanda. They do not accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is the supreme maintainer of everyone and the chief personality among all personalities. Brajabhumi Krishna is certain, or is the central point of love, but no one knows him there as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, a person may know him as a friend, son, lover, or master. In any case, the center is Krishna. The inhabitants of Brajabhumi are related to the Lord in servitude, friendship, parental love, and conjugal love. The person engaged in devotional service may accept any one of these transcendental relationships, which is known as mellows. One who is in the perfectional stage may return home, back to Godhead, and attain his pure spiritual identity. Ajnana-timirandasya Gyananjana-salakaya Chakshuranmilitam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Caitanya Manobhistam Navitam Vena Mutane Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapatantikam Vanshakampatirvischa Kripa Sindhu Vahimucham Ajitanam Pavadekam Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Namo Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yeah, this is a very intimate conversation. It's actually similar in some ways to the previous chapter, which is the conversation between Caitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy. And here we're coming to the same point, actually, a different route we've taken here. This is the conversation between Venkata and Lord Caitanya. Now, Venkata is a devotee who is in Sri Sampradaya, and their understanding is a little different from ours. Well, in many ways it's the same actually, they're also Vaishnavas. But in one respect, their understanding is a little different, and that is that Lakshmi Narayan is supreme, and Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu. That is their vision, that is their understanding. So here Caitanya Mahaprabhu is at pains to correct that little misunderstanding. Because although, it's true, Narayan and Krishna are the same person actually. Equally beautifully, the Prabhupada says in one of these purports, but the thing is that Krishna is the original personality, but the mood is different. The Prabhupada is pointing that out in the purport. The mood is different. Lakshmi Narayan mood is like this. Supreme Personality of Godhead, servitorship, that's the mood. There's no question of these higher relationships of friendship, parental relationship or conjugal lust. There's no question of that actually. Because how can there be question of friendship with somebody that you look upon like this? How is it possible? It's not actually possible. So in this conversation, Mahaprabhu is very gentle here actually. Mahaprabhu doesn't, generally speaking, doesn't crush people. It's very careful presentation here. Firstly, seeing the worship of Lakshmi Narayana by Venkatapata. This is in the Srirangam temple actually, like almost in South India. And Mahaprabhu stayed there for the 4 months of the rainy season, Venkatapata's house. So the first thing we can understand, although the Sri Sampradaya and the understanding is a little different, Mahaprabhu was quite happy to spend time in that place. He didn't think, well, we're not worshippers of Radha Krishna, so I'm not staying here. No, he was quite happy to accept that offer of Venkatapata. And it's also mentioned they were always discussing about the pastimes of Krishna. And Mahaprabhu was very happy there. But there came a point, okay, now we want to just adjust things a little bit. So, it began with, your mistress, she's certainly the most chaste lady in creation. So this is how Mahaprabhu starts, glorifies Lakshmi Devi, yes, certainly the most chaste lady. Why is that? Because she resides always on the chest of Narayan. She's certainly a very, very chaste lady. But we see in the scriptures it's mentioned that she actually wanted to associate with Krishna. So why is that? This is how Mahaprabhu started. So of course then Venkatapata was like, why are you joking me with this way? Because Narayan and Krishna are actually the same person. And Prabhupada says in the purport there that it's natural that a wife would want to associate with her husband in all his dresses. It's not okay, he puts his suit on to go to work now and I don't want to associate with him. The wife doesn't feel like that. Or when he puts on his sport wear to go play tennis in the evening, no, I don't want to associate with him. I'd like to associate with him in his relaxed mood at home. No. Wife, it's natural, wants to associate with her husband in all of his manifestations. So there's nothing wrong in that, actually. Her chastity is not disturbed. This is what Mahaprabhu was saying. Okay, that's all well and good. So, she wanted to enter the rasa dance, and she had to perform great austerities to do that, actually. And Caitanya Mahaprabhu quoted scriptures to support that understanding. Very long time she performed austerities. So the Lord appeared to her and said, what do you want? She said, look, I want to enter into Rajabhumi. And the Lord said, okay, fine. Then you have to become the follower of the camel dancers of Raja. Which means no opulence. Simple girls, actually. They don't even know the scripture. Well, actually, Tunga-Vidya knows. They've got some problem with Krishna, they go to Tunga-Vidya and say, look, this is the problem with God. She can quote the scripture. But mostly, they're not learned, actually. And you know what's in the ovens? Because you've seen Indian oven, no? Indian oven is either on or off. There's no, you can't adjust the control like that. But you know what you find in the gopis' ovens? Like cobwebs. You find cobwebs. Because they're so absorbed in worshiping Krishna, they've got no time to cook. So you find cobwebs like that. So they're just simple Calvin girls, very simple, dressed very simply, they're not very opulent or anything. But their qualification is they love Krishna unequivocally, without reservation. Even Narada Muni wanted the dust to put on Krishna's head to solve his headache, and the gopis were happy to give it. And Narada Muni said, are you scared of going to hell? And the gopis said, no, we don't care actually. So Lord Krishna's headache gets cured, we don't care if we have to go to hell. They're very simple village girls. But Lakshmi, who is she? Great opulence and majesty, So this is Krishna's thing. You want to enter into Rajabhumi, then you've got to follow these girls. And it's like, how is it possible? I have to give up who I am. Because that is Lakshmi is, the seat of all. The husband of the goddess of fortune, we say, Madhya. So that goddess of fortune is no other than Lakshmi Devi. Actually, they worship her in the material world. They carefully separate her from Narayan. And they worship her. You know why they worship her in the material world? Yeah, they want opulence. So they carefully separate her from Narayan. And therefore her influence is chanchala. She may give you and she may not. And if she does give you, she won't stay for very long. Because she always stays at the lotus feet of her husband. Yeah, so she couldn't enter. Actually, even though the Shruti-charis could enter, the personified Vedas, they they also fell in love with Krishna. They wanted the conjugal rasa, and they were able to enter into the rasa dance, whereas Lakshmi Devi could not. So the Mahaprabhu said, "Why is that?" And then Vyakantapada was scratching his head. He said, "I can't enter into the depths of your pastimes. I don't really know why is that." So this is what Caitanya Mahaprabhu is explaining here. Then Vyakantapada admitted, "I'm an ordinary human being. Since my intelligence is very limited and I'm easily agitated, my mind cannot enter within the deep ocean of the pastimes of the Lord." He's not really a materialist, but he's identifying himself like that. Because one who is transcendental, the mind is not agitated. Krishna discusses in Bhagavad Gita quite a lot about that actually. Their minds are equipoised, actually. They're not easily agitated. But here he's saying, I'm an ordinary human being, and my intelligence is very limited, and I'm very easily agitated. He's saying, I'm just a materialist, I don't know these things. Of course, they're not true. It's just out of humility. My mind cannot enter into the deep ocean of the pastimes of the Lord. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. You know the purpose of your activities, and the person whom you enlighten can also understand your pastimes. So it's like asking, why don't you enlighten me? Because I can't enter into this. The Lord replied, Krishna has a specific characteristic. He attracts everyone's heart by the mellow of his personal conjugal love. It is the most attractive, the Lord's personal conjugal love. It's true that all these relationships, even Shantaras, is prema bhakti. It is, actually. But the thing is, there's no relationship. It's adoration from a distance. But it is pure. And the point about that is that once the yogi attains that, can't retract his gaze. It's complete absorption. So it is prema bhakti, but it's Shantaras. There's no relationship. It's just passive adoration. And then, obviously, the others, even though servitorship is there, it's also prema bhakti, but it's in servitorship. Now, in the Shantaras, there's no question of intimacy. Because intimacy means some exchange must be there. No? It's just passive adoration. Like, I don't know who put on your bedroom wall. Who did you put on your bedroom wall? Was it one young lady? In my case, it was Jan Ackerman. He was the best guitarist in my era, Jan Ackerman. And he was my hero because I was allowed to play guitar at that time. And he's like the king of guitar, Jan Ackerman, the Dutchman focus. But many boys, they put a girl on their bedroom wall. Some great model or actress or something like that. And they are fantasizing about that girl. It's passive adoration. Is there ever going to be any chance of a relationship with that girl? No. Because they're way up there somewhere and you're down here somewhere. There's never going to be a relationship. So the exchange is not there, it's passive adoration. But in master-servant, there is some intimacy. It's not huge, but there is some exchange. But in Dasyaras, there's want of increased intimacy. And that comes in the relationship of friendship. Actually, in servitorship, there's very little. There's a tiny bit of intimacy. Because you can't really be intimate with your boss. They won't tolerate that, actually. That is overstepping the relationship. But in friendship, there's intimacy. It's a relationship of equals. So like Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, he was embarrassed when Krishna showed him the universal form. He said, I treated you as a friend previously, oh Yadava, oh Krishna. I'm the dynasty of the Pandava dynasty, and I can accept the throne. But you Yadavas, you can't be kings. So, Arjuna was in that mood. I'm a prince actually, and I'm going to become king one day. And by my mercy, I'm kind of letting you in to my friendship. Like, that was his mood. And when he saw the universal form, what did he say? Oh my God, what have I done? Oh, what have I done? Sometimes in company of you, and sometimes in company of many friends and others, I disrespected you in so many ways. So this is what happens. The awe and reverence came because of the universal form, and then the friendship was evaporated. Arjuna felt very embarrassed. So there's intimacy, but there's not increased intimacy. Between mother and son, there's increased intimacy. You can chase with a stick, you can chastise, you can tell him off for stealing the butter and yogurt. But in conjugal rest, there is complete freedom. You can do anything. There's even that expression in English, all is fair in love and war. All is fair, you can do anything. Doesn't matter, you know. And even Krishna get embarrassed sometimes, you know. But Lisa tells Radhika, you know, don't let that black-faced boy come here. I'm fed up with him. Don't let him come here like that. And Krishna's scratching his head thinking, what can I do to regain that relationship? So you see that on the ceiling of the Radharanath temple. Krishna's busy stringing a garland to try and win her favour back, and she's coming in the background, and you see Krishna looks very embarrassed. No. So in conjugal rest, anything is possible. All is fair and no more. Actually, in the previous conversation with Ramananda Roy, he said about the movement of a snake. So the movement of a snake, can you predict? No, it may go this way, or it may go that way. Can't predict, no, because a snake moves like that. It can move any way it likes. So the relationship of conjugal rest, like the movement of a snake, complete freedom, yeah. So the Lord, so that is very, very attractive. That is the attractive feature of Krishna, actually, which is what Caitanya Mahaprabhu is saying here. The Lord replied, Lord Krishna is a special characteristic. Actually, we discussed that last time. He has 4 special characteristics. He attracts everyone's heart by the mellow of his personal conjugal love. Even if you're a rishi in the forest, the Dandakaranya forest, that is where Lord Ramachandra hung out for a bit. And all the rishis, seeing his beauty, actually, the rishis are generally, servitorship, but seeing the beauty of Lord Ramachandra, they wanted that intimate relationship. And they asked him, can we associate with you like that? And Lord Ramachandra said, not in this particular incarnation. Because in this incarnation, one, Ekapatni, one wife. Because Lord Ramachandra is Mayada Purushottama. Purushottama means, Purushottama means the topmost person, Puru and Uttama. Not Purusham, Uttama, the topmost person. Right, so the topmost person in the mood of Mayada. Mayada means following the scripture, no nonsense. Like his father said, we've got to go to the forest. And Lakshmi said, don't listen to him. Just stay behind. And Lord Ramachandra was like, no, my father has spoken, so I'm going to do it. Mayada Purushottam. But Krishna is not like that. Krishna don't care about the rules and regulations. He don't care what you think about him. He's just engaged and exchanged in pure love with his devotees. Touch you forehead now. Yeah, so pure love with his devotees, which is extremely attractive, is very, very intimate. So everyone is attracted by that. Even Lakshmi Devi, who is the most chaste lady in creation, is attracted to that intimate relationship. So the Rishicharis are like that. They were living in the forest, the Dandakaranya forest, where Lord Ramachandra was living in exile. And seeing his beauty, they wanted to have that exchange. So the Lord told them, not in this particular incarnation, but in the next incarnation, okay, that will give you. So they got entrance. And then there is the Shuticharis. The Shuticharis, this is personified Vedas, because the Vedas are not just books, they're persons actually. They also fell in love with Krishna in that way. They wanted entrance into the rasa dance, and they all managed it. They all got that entrance actually. The Rishicharis and the Shuticharis. Shuti means that which is heard. The scripture can be divided Shuti and Shmiti. Shuti is the original Veda. That's eternal. Actually, that is unchanging and eternal. But the Smriti may change a little bit, because that is the realizations of the pure devotees when studying or hearing the Shruti. So the Shruti, part of it, you've got the 4 Vedas, you've got the Upavedas, the Vedangas, the Brahmanas, the Anyakas, the Upanishads. It's a huge body of literature. So the Upanishads are said to be the personification of the Vedas, because they contain the essence, so they're persons. So you can't blame them really, the Shruticharyas are falling in love with Krishna and wanting that relationship. So they managed that as well, but Lakshmi Devi couldn't. And the reason is because she couldn't give up that nature she has of opulence. By following in the footsteps of the inhabitants of the planet known as Vrajaloka, or Goloka Vrindavan, one can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. However, in that planet the inhabitants do not know that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They don't know, they don't care actually. Even if you are, we don't care. So, by one time when Krishna was trying, so you get this quite a few times that the gopis are looking for Krishna. Krishna goes off somewhere and the gopis are all looking for Krishna. So one time Krishna tried to hide by manifesting his four-armed form. All the gopis came and they paid obeisances because this is Narayana we're dealing with it, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they paid obeisances and they asked Narayana, have you seen Krishna anywhere? Okay, it's the Supreme Lord, you pay obeisances. We don't really care about that. We want to know where is Krishna. Like that. So it's pretty amazing, you know? And when Radharani came along, and actually she loves Krishna so much he couldn't maintain that form. He just couldn't do it. He tried his best to maintain that form, but he couldn't do it in front of Radharani. Yeah, so this is the Supreme Lord, you know, in the mood of Goloka Vrindavan. No one knows there that he's Supreme Lord. Now someone may accept him as the son, and someone may bind him to a grinding mortar. Someone else may accept him as an intimate friend, and attaining victory over him, playfully mount his shoulders. This is the mood of the cowherd boys. No? They don't think of Krishna as the Supreme Lord. They just think of him as the team leader. You know, when they play cops and robbers, he's just the team leader. And you know, okay, you may be the team leader, but you're nothing special. You know, I can defeat you, no problem. And Krishna goes, okay, let's see. And then they wrestle, and Sridham defeats Krishna actually. And Sridham says, Krishna, I defeated you, so now you'll have to carry me on your back. And Krishna said, no, you didn't defeat me, I slipped on a banana skin. So you didn't really defeat me. And Sridham says, nonsense. And he begins to climb on Krishna's back. Will you do that? Of course, the deity's not big enough here. But when you go to Radharanath for Ratha Yatra, will you climb on the back of the deity? Will anyone dare to do that? Well, they won't even get as far as the enclosure of the deity, actually. What to speak of the Sringasana? You won't even get that far. Some devotee will come and beat you up if you try to do that. But yeah, but in Goloka, that's what they do. They playfully mount his shoulders, and Sridham says, okay, you may have defeated me yesterday. But today, I'm going to beat you so badly you'll never want to wrestle with me again. So if you understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can you do that? Can you?
No.
No, you can't do that actually. You can't. How can you defeat your friend if you think he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Yeah. The inhabitants of Rajabhumi know that Krishna is the son of Maharaj Nanda, the king of Rajabhumi. They consider can be no relationship with the Lord in the rasa of opulence. They know about that, but they don't care. They're not interested in that actually. Narayan is there, the gopis pray, the obeisance is finished. Now, have you seen Krishna anywhere? That's what they're interested in. They just love Krishna so much, actually. So this is the pinnacle of our sampradaya. This love of Krishna in spontaneous affection, actually. And we are getting the love. We may get that if Lord Balaram, if Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram think we're worthy of it. If Radharani thinks we're worthy of it, you may get that actually. You may get that. And when you go into Radharani's party or Balaram's party, Lord Balaram decides that. Because after all, Lord Balaram is the presiding deity of the jivas. How do you get injected into the material nature? Do you know? That's a transcendental syringe. Oh, no. The transcendental syringe is the glance of Mahavishnu. That's how, in that glance, everything is transferred. The jiva is the prime factor. Through the agency of Sadashiva. That is why Shiva appears as a lingam. Have you wondered why? That's a strange manifestation for a deity, no? Just a kind of domed piece of rock. And they usually put an abhishek draining, they mold that into the deity. The devotees of Lord Shiva especially like to bathe him with milk. So they put that gutter around the deity and has a little hole that drains out like that. Yeah, because Lord Shiva is the mechanism through which, that's a phallus, It's a phallic symbol. This is the mechanism through which the living entities are transferred from Narayan into the material nature. Everything is personified. Even the glance of Vishnu is personified. So who is Mahavishnu? Krishna Vishnu. Who is he actually? No, not actually. Technically not Krishna, if you want to be technical. He's actually an expansion of Balaram. Because it goes Balaram, Mahasankarshan, Narayan, second Sankarshan, then Mahavishnu. So technically he's an expansion of Balaram. So Balaram is the one who places you in the material nature. He injects you. So without Balaram, can you get out? No. You need Balaram's mercy because he's the one who put you there in the first place. He's the presiding deity of the jivas. So he'll decide actually where we go. Because in this Sampradaya, that's where we're heading. Brajabhumi. That's the goal of our Sampradaya. And especially Madhya Ras. It's an incredible thing actually. To get entrance. How can you get entrance? Because everyone in the beginning, the bhaktas, whoever they are, they worship Krishna like this. So how is it possible to get entrance? That's a mystery actually. How is that possible? If you're in awe and reverence, how can you become the friend? How can you become the mother or the father? How can you become the conjugal lover? That is through the mercy of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And we don't even have to change our body. Normally you have to change your body to get entrance into the spiritual world. We don't even have to do that. Why? Because Caitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, we're part of that. We're actually part of it. Prabhupada says we are one big branch of the Chaitanya tree. And the Chaitanya tree is transcendental. We are part and parcel of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Because Lord Chaitanya is distributing Lord Godhead, and we are trying to help in that endeavour to confirm. So we are part and parcel of that. So we've already entered into the pastimes in the eternal spiritual realm. Because Goloka Vrindavan has two chambers. One chamber is Rajabhumi Goloka Vrindavan, and the other one is Navadvip. Actually, in Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna is exchanging pure love with his devotees, and that love is being distributed by Caitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadvip, Goloka Navadvip. It's being distributed like that. So Prabhupada said that there is ISKCON. ISKCON is there in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes in the spiritual world. My spiritual master used to joke, there they speak English. He used to also say that when you go back to the spiritual world, I will introduce you to Srila Prabhupada. That's what our beloved spiritual master used to say. I'm looking forward to that, but I may have to wait a while for that. I don't know how long. But wouldn't that be wonderful, huh? My spiritual masters say, my dear Srila Prabhupada, this is Shyamananda Krishna. And Prabhupada goes, oh. Wouldn't that be wonderful? No? That is what's awaiting in such a when we go back to the spiritual world. So one worships the Lord by following in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Brajabhumi, obtains the Lord, and gets to know him as he is known in the transcendental Pranata Vraja. There he is known as the son of Nanda Maharaj, not as Krishna actually. The son of, not of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Krishna. This beautiful cowherd boy dressed in a yellow dhoti, wearing a garland of forest flowers, with a stick and a piece of rope, and some of the flutes tucked in the, you bind the dhoti in that way, just tuck the flute in there. Actually, it's mentioned by Lord Brahma that the favourite attendant in Brajabhumi is the flute. That flute is very special. Even the gopis are jealous of that flute. You know why? Why are the gopis jealous of the flute? No, because it gets these Krishna's lips. It touches Krishna's lips and the gopis go my goodness, what austerities has that flute performed? It gets to kiss Krishna's lips so much. Even we don't get that. So even the flute is thinking it's very special. Sure. That's the touch of Krishna's lips. The inhabitants of Brajabhumi, Goloka Vrindavan, know Krishna as the son of Nanda Maharaj. Because if you're a cowherd boy, you must have a father and mother, right? Must have. So that's how he's known. The son of Nanda Maharaj and the son of Vishnu. They do not accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And interesting the way that Prabhupada puts it, right? They don't accept him. They don't care actually who you are. We just love you so much. But they kind of know, but they don't really care about that actually. It is there in the back of their minds because they're full of knowledge. So how is it they don't know? But the thing is, the relationship eclipses that understanding. That's the High Court judge analogy that Srila Prabhupada gives. The High Court judge's wife doesn't really think of him as the High Court judge. She kind of knows, but she never really deals with him like that. Isn't it true? She never deals with her husband as the High Court judge. Never. Because the relationship with wife eclipses it. No? She knows, but it never really enters her consciousness very much. Maybe one of her friends tells you, don't you ever get scared of your husband, he could lock you up with being a High Court judge. And she thinks, well, I never do that to me. Because of the intimacy of the relationship. So that's what we've got here as well. They do not accept him. No. Where's Krishna? If this is Narayan, he's also Krishna, by the way. He's an expansion of Krishna. But okay, pay the basis. But they want, where's Krishna? They don't accept him. They don't think to themselves, oh, Krishna is an expansion of this person. Or this person arises an expansion of Krishna. Oh no, here's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We pay our obeisances. Where's Krishna? They don't know. The Lord is the supreme maintainer of everyone and the chief personalities among all personalities. That is Srila Prabhupada's glory. Of course, there are many ways of expressing Srila Prabhupada's glory. Now we say God, but what does Srila Prabhupada say? No.
Personality of Godhead.
The supreme personality of Godhead. Why is it expressed like that? This is Prabhupada's genius, Prabhupada's brilliance. Why is it expressed like that?
Because it's not the entirety of what he is. That's his personality, not his effulgence or his...
Good try. Good try. That's not the reason.
The source of.
Huh?
He is the source of.
Also a good try, but not really the reason. Because everything in the spiritual world is personal. Everything. The trees, the land, the cows, everything is a person. So the spiritual world is full of persons. But Krishna is the supreme person. The topmost person. No? But everything in Goloka is personality. Everything, even the milking stool. Even the milking stool that Krishna sits on to milk the cows. Even the rope that Krishna uses to bind the back legs of the cow is a person. No? There are actually devotees in servitorship. The milking stool and the rope are in servitorship. Actually, it's not very prominent in Goloka Vrindavan. Servitorship is not very prominent. Yeah, so he is the supreme person. Isn't it a nice description? It is very, very exacting. It's like when we say, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. No? It's a very poignant description. Because Vasudeva is who?
Son of Vasudeva.
He's the son of Vasudeva. So it's a very, very exact description. Nobody else can be understood as the son of Vasudeva except Vasudeva. So this is also a very, very poignant description. The son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna himself. Supreme Personality Godhead. In Brajabhumi, Krishna is certainly the central point of love. Certainly, Prabhupada is just emphasizing that a little bit. Everybody, from the rope all the way up to the flute, all the way up to Radharani. Everyone, everything and everyone, the central point of attraction is Krishna, the central point of love. Krishna glances at the tree when he enters the forest, and what happens to that tree? The tree was just minding its own business, meditating on Krishna. And Krishna glances at the tree, and what happens?
Blooms.
The tree bursts into flowers and fruits at the same time. There's just so much reciprocation there. Krishna glances. This is Krishna's glance, Don't be any doubt about what Krishna's glance is capable of. And the tree just completely bursts in every possible nook and corner of the tree. Even on the trunk of the tree, you get flowers and fruits, and the trees bow down like that. And Krishna tells Balaram, just see, you're such a great personality that these trees bow down to you. Like that. So everybody's personality. In Brajabhumi, Krishna is certainly and the central point of love. But no one knows him there as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, a person may know him as a friend. It's like, I think I told you that last week now. You see, Madhya, he's the son of who?
Sandipani Muni.
Sandipani Muni. So Sandipani Muni is teacher, so he must be a
Brahman.
Must be a Brahmin. Yeah, but Krishna's father is Vaishya. Okay, may have 900,000 cows. That's just in the Brajabhumi. That's not in Goloka. But, okay, may have 9,000 cows. But when all said and done, he's a Vaishya. Right? So Krishna is by birth. And what does he do? In the morning, when he's been dressed so beautifully by his mother and mascara is put on, what does he do?
It's cows.
He goes, no, he doesn't actually. He goes to the forest. It's not true that Krishna is herding the cows. That is a fallacy put about by his enemies. Not really. Actually, the cows follow him because they love him so much. Wherever Krishna goes, the cows go with. So it's not true actually that he herds the cows. He goes into the forest to sport with his cowherd boyfriends. Yeah. No one knows him as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Someone knows him as a friend. Come Krishna, you know. And then this Madhya Mangal, he's a Brahmin. So sometimes, you know, the Madhya Mangal tells Krishna, you don't give me enough respect actually. You know, I'm a Brahmin and you're just a Vaishya. So you should respect me more actually than you actually do. And Krishna goes, yeah, that's true actually. Please accept my humble obeisances. So this is the kind of exchange that goes on there, you know. Friend, son, you know, you break the pot of yoga, you nonsense. I'll teach you a lesson you'll never forget. You know? So cross that she picked up a stick. She only put the stick down when she saw the fear in Krishna's eyes. Because a mother's like that, you know. No, I can't have the child is fearful. But at the same time, we're going to administer punishment. Time out. Because no one here has children. Time out. What do you do for time out with your children? Put them in the corner with a dance hat on, like that, something like that. But they say, the child psychologists say that, okay, you may restrict their freedom, you should always be present. Don't stand in the corner. But you should be present so the child doesn't feel abandoned. You know, because some adults have abandonment issues because that's what they got from their parents. So they say, like, you stand in the corner. So what was Yashoda Mai's equivalent of stand in the corner? Tying to a grinding mortar. Yeah, I'm going to teach you a lesson. You're not going to forget this in a hurry. Because what is she thinking? She's thinking, this is my son. And if I don't train him, who's going to do it? That's how a parent thinks, no? It's my duty to train this child. Because if I don't do it, what will happen? Come on, I know it's Sunday
You will
morning.
be spoiled.
Huh?
You will be
Yeah, you
spoiled.
become a spoiled brat. So Yashoda Mai is thinking, no way, Jose, not happening on my watch. That's what she's thinking. So therefore she bides to a grinding mortar. And level we already described, but some of the pastimes are just unbelievable. You know, the exchanges between Radha and Krishna. You know, complete freedom. Did I tell you about the one where he gets dressed up as a singer? I'll tell you about that one. That's one of Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's. There's a book called Chandrika Chamatkara. If you translate that literally, it means a moonbeam of sheer astonishment. That's the title of the book. A moonbeam of sheer astonishment. You know this pastime with Krishna in the box? I'm sure you all know that one, no? You know, no? You don't know? Okay, this one will tell a little bit then for the transcendental enjoyment of the devotees. See, once upon a time, in the house of Yashoda Mai, she was packing one box. It's quite a big box actually, with a nice lid, decorations on the outside, and she's putting fine cloth, she's putting jewels, she's putting agrabati, so many things she's putting in the box. It's quite early in the morning actually. Krishna comes along and he says, Mata, why are you packing this box? Is this box for me? You know, because usually Krishna is the center of everything, you know. So she says, no, I'm packing another one for you, and that's got even more wonderful things in it. So Krishna says, if you're not packing this box for me, then who are you packing it for? She says, I'm packing it for Srimati Radhika, who is such a wonderful girl, you know. And Krishna thinks, why is not, why, anyway, she tells him, no, there's a little box for you. So she's busy packing, and then Danishta, I think it's Danishta, comes along. Danishta, we have this, the servant of this devotee in our community now. She's actually a jewellery maker. So she comes to the house and she knocks on the door, like that. And she says, Yashoda, I've come to discuss the jewellery we're going to make to put in this box. So they go outside and they start discussing. And you know what Krishna does? His coward boyfriends are there with him and they say, no, let's play a joke. They take all the stuff out of the box and Krishna gets in it and he closes the lid. And then Abhimanyu comes because she sent message and she calls him. Abhimanyu is, in the spiritual world, is the husband of Radhika. But it's just a paper marriage. Actually, it's the shadow of Krishna. If you go to Goloka, you see that Krishna hasn't got a shadow. Because the shadow of Krishna is Abhimanyu. Right? Because, one time Radharani told Krishna, let's get married. No, Krishna told Radharani, I'm sorry, let's get married. And you know what Radharani said? She said, no, to get married would be boring. Be boring. Let's just keep it like this, a lot of fun like this. Because when you're married, is anybody trying to introduce impediment why you can't meet your wife? Of course, the children do that, but they don't have children in the spiritual world. No, there's no impediment like that. It's just a constant association. But it's more fun if there's impediment. If there's someone trying to stop you. So what's her name? That's Jatila. And? Kutila. They're always trying to stop. And Krishna appreciates that very much. Because then when they come together, then the sambhog is driven to its highest possible attainment like that. Because if someone tries to stop you, and I don't know if this ever happened to you, take a girl home as your girlfriend and your parents say they don't like that she's got 14 earrings and tattoos on her forehead. No, you can't. Why? What does it do to your relationship with that girl? Yeah, it drives it together. They're trying to separate you, it drives it together. So this is why Krishna likes those who are doing that. Yeah, I'm a little bit sidetracked now. Yeah, the box. So Abhimanyu comes, and Yashoda Mai comes back in like that. She tells Abhimanyu, I want you to take this box to your wife, and I want you to take it with a message. I can't remember the whole message, but it's something along the lines of, my dear Srimati Radhika, you're very dear to us, you're very dear to me and my husband, and therefore I'm sending you this box with all kinds of wonderful things in it. We want you to enjoy the contents of this box. Now this is how Krishna arranges things, very masterful the way he does that. So then Abhimanyu puts the box, well, first of all he's lifting the box and he thinks, wow, this box is so heavy. It's so heavy. Today the perfection of my existence has come. Because then he knows that Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai are the king and queen of Vrindavan. So they're very opulent. They've got millions of cows. So he's thinking, wow, today I've achieved perfection. This box is so heavy. I can't imagine what this in this box. There must be gold and jewels and so many things in this box. He said, today I've attained perfection. So somehow or other he manages to lift the box onto his back and he goes off to his home in Yavat. He goes off like that. And he's carrying the box and Sambhog can be sweating. He's thinking, my God, this box has got just amazing things. I can't wait till we get home and we can open this box. So he gets home and Katila says, what are you carrying there? And he says, no, I'm carrying this box. Yashoda Mai called me this morning and she gave me this box. She said, this box is for the enjoyment of your wife. Like that. Whatever is in this box, you must enjoy it to the best of her ability. Something like that. So Jatila says, okay, go put it in a room like that. So Abhimanyu goes put the box in the room, in Radharani's room, and then it's for Radharani, it's not for him, But he's thinking anyway, she's my wife, so I'll get the benefit of all this stuff. So he leaves the room. And that time it said that Radhika was with some of her Astashakis, like that. And they open. First of all, Abhimanyu reads the message, because I can't memorize it, but he managed it. He memorized the message. He said that Yashoda Mai is sending him this box of all kinds of wonderful things, and she's asking you to enjoy whatever's in this box, and then he leaves the room. And then they open the box, and guess who springs out? This is one of the stories that's in the book called Chandrika. I've forgotten the word.
Chandrika Chamatkar.
Chamatkara, yeah. Chandrika, was it the other way around? Chamatkara Chandrika, I think it's called. A moonbeam of sheer astonishment. So one of these stories also, Krishna gets dressed up as a girl. Because in Rajabhumi like that, the singing is very important, you know. It said that Radharani's singing is so sweet, Krishna's heart melts. So he wanted to compete with her a little bit, you know. So he dressed up as a girl. And have a guess what he put in for imitation breasts. Have a guess. Because you know the Kadamba, have you seen the Kadamba? Of course they're small here in the material, but in the spiritual world they're big. So they dressed him up as a girl and they put 2 Kadamba flowers in there to make it look like he's a girl. Anyway, so what happened, I'll give you the essence because to tell the story would take quite a long time. The essence is that he sings very sweetly. He comes with his cousin and his cousin speaks for him, you know. He doesn't actually say anything, the cousin speaks for him. So the Lalita figures it out very quickly. She understands what she said. This rascal, he's dressed up like a girl, you know. So we should try and expose him. So Radhika says, you know, he sings one song like that, you know. I forget the name of the associate of Krishna, forget her name. But she announces that I've come with my friend. She's coming from a foreign land and she sings so sweetly. So Radhika says, really? So, you know, what kind of song are you going to sing for us? And the cousin relates, okay, you know, any kind of song that you like, she can sing. So they ask for something, I forget now. And Krishna sings very, very sweetly in that song, and they're amazed, you know, how sweetly Krishna is singing. But they figured out that this is that black-faced boy who's come dressed up as a girl. So what they do, Radharani says, you know, you sing so sweetly that I want to give you something like that, you know. So I want to give you, you know, I want to give you my bodice, you know, top part of the dress like that, you know. And so they say, well, you know, we're among girls here, so you can get undressed, you know, and I can give you my bodice. And this through the cousin, Krishna tells that, well, actually, where I come from, we don't do that kind of thing. We're very shy. We don't get dressed. But Radharani says, but you're among girls here. What's the problem, you know? Like this is how it goes on. And then he couldn't get out of it, you know. Somehow, this is how it goes in the spiritual romance. They try and trap each other with the etiquette, you know. So we're just girls here. What's your problem, you know? You can get undressed. And he says, no, where I come from, we don't do that. So then Radharani says, just go and do the bodice, you know, like that. And she unties it a little bit, and guess what falls out? Yeah, the 2 kadandas fall out. It's a very beautiful drama. So this is the kind of thing that goes on in the spiritual. It's very, very intimate, you know. Krishna dressed up as a girl with 2 kadamba flowers. Yeah, this is the loving exchange. The inhabitants of Rajabhumi are related to the Lord in servitude, friendship, and parental love, and conjugal love. A person engaged in devotional service may accept any one of these transcendental relationships. This is why it's important to hear about Krishna's pastimes, because there has to be something to attract us. You know, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, we may have the taste for these material things, right? You know that verse? Krishna says you're restricted from it, but you still retain the taste. Isn't it? Alright?
Yes.
We know that verse? At least give me the English. Yeah, this is the Sanskrit. What's the English? Param drisva nivartate. The English is that the living entity, being restricted from sense enjoyment, retains the taste, but ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he remains fixed in consciousness. So this is the thing, because our senses need engagement, isn't it? Can you hold your senses still? I used to try and do that when I did pranayama. I used to try and, hold everything still. Can't really do that actually after some time. They require engagement. So there are two choices. What are the choices? We can engage in the sense gratification or in Krishna's, in remembrance of Krishna. This is why it's very, very important for us to hear Krishna's pastimes. It's very important. Because by repeatedly hearing, we have something to remember. Isn't that amazing? Remembering Krishna is also devotional service. So if we don't do this, if we don't fill our consciousness up, okay, but teacher, I want you to do me a favour. See if there's any water in the jug for pouring. If there's any water. I want to demonstrate to this to you practically. Is there any water in the jug? There is. Okay, bring me the Archman cup and also the tray for pouring water into. Okay, I'll put this on my lap. Sometimes it's just good to see it done, personally. So in this analogy, what do you think the Archman cup represents? Yes, your consciousness. And the water? Well, not necessarily. Whatever Prajalpa or whatever you're talking. Whatever you're talking. So we pour it into the cup like this. And then eventually what happens to the pot? It becomes full. And then? It overflows. So our consciousness is like this Archman cup. Whatever goes on in here and here is what you fill your consciousness with. No? And then actually when you're around others, whatever's in there gets... Like when we have prasadam, what we do. When I was a bhakti, what used to happen at prasadam time? Someone would read the Caitanya caritamrta. Of course, those days are gone now, I think. But that's what we used to do. We used to read the Caitanya caritamrta. Somebody would be at them. Okay, Prabhu, it's your turn today. You read the Caitanya. Because our whole business is to try and fill our consciousness. When I was a young man, they used to say, fill your head with rock. We don't mean that stuff which is very hard. We mean that stuff. Fill your head with rock. But what should we fill our head with? Krishna. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you know this verse now, no? Manmana Madhya Manamaskanu Mangivashasya Atmana Atmana. Yeah. The first instruction is the most important, the very first instruction. What is it? Fill your head with rock.
Always think.
Engage your mind in always thinking of me. It is the principal instruction, actually. Engage your mind in always thinking of me. Rupa Goswami also paraphrases that in the opening verses of the Nectar of Devotion. He says that the whole of the scripture can be represented by two statements. He actually says even that all the rules and regulations of the scripture are meant to support these two principles. So what are the two principles? Always remember Krishna, never forget it. So this is our business as devotees. Because you're going to think, was it Carl Jung said, I think, therefore I am. Is it Carl Jung? Oh, okay. I think, therefore I am. So you will think. So the thing is to think about the right thing. Engage your mind in always thinking of me. And for that, we have to have something to remember. Otherwise, what are you going to remember? Huh? Material things you can remember. So this is why it's very, very important to hear these sweet pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Even what we make, not even the most intimate pastimes, but to hear any subject matter which is related to Krishna. So what's our book? Okay, Krishna book, but that's a part of? It's very dear to the devotees. Because three Srimad Bhagavatam, again to remember. This is the Caitanya Krishna book. Excuse me, I've got hiccups now. This is the Caitanya Krishna book. No? Actually, this one's heavily philosophical. The Caitanya Bhagavat is kind of Krishna book. That's more just pastimes. This one is heavily philosophical, which is why Prabhupada just translated. Got the hiccups now. Okay, what's going on? Yeah, so this is a very, very important thing, to hear Krishna's pastimes, to absorb our minds in the activities, and also Krishna's devotees. Like it's such a wonderful book actually, Srila Prabhupada Lila. You know, we can remember the activities of Krishna and his devotees, very good for us, because otherwise we're going to think of nonsense. And as I demonstrated with the Archman pot, if your consciousness is full, like how do you get your consciousness full? You fill it. You fill your consciousness with Krishna like that. Then when you're in the presence of other devotees, what will happen? It will spill out over the other devotees like that. So this way we can help each other to be in Krishna consciousness, because that is actually what we're all about. What do we call our movement? Krishna consciousness. Yeah. This is a society which goes everywhere and is intended for people to absorb their consciousness in Krishna. But it's not just a title, you know, oh yeah, ISKCON. It's not just a title, it's an instruction actually. What we're meant to do when we're members of this movement. Meant to fill our heads with rock. Right? Fill our heads with... Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're meant to fill our heads with Krishna. And it takes practice. Because the moment, you know, the stage we're in right now, I don't know, anybody's in Nishna here? Anybody in Nishna? Okay, then the stage we're at is that we are thinking of Krishna, and then we start thinking about something else, something mundane, and we can't figure out how that happened. Have you done that? You know, if we're discussing Krishna and suddenly you're thinking of something mundane and you can't figure out how did that happen? I was thinking of Krishna. But where we need to be is the stage of ruchi. In the stage of ruchi, you're discussing something which is perhaps not so Krishna conscious, and then suddenly you're thinking of Krishna and you can't figure out how it happened. So this is what we should pursue. This is what we should try to pursue, the higher taste. And the higher taste comes when we're in contact with Krishna, his paraphernalia, the tadiya. You know these people are tadiya. Tadiya means the paraphernalia associated with Krishna actually. The tadiya, the devotees of Krishna's tadiya. Yeah, so anyway, I was hoping to get beyond this verse, but it didn't happen. It's a very nice purport because it reminds us a person engaged in devotional service may accept any one of these transcendental relationships, which are known as mellows. That's Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati's word. It's very hard to translate some Sanskrit words into English. Like dharma is a word like that. There's no word for it actually in English. The nearest you can get is religion, but it's not really an understanding of the word. Dharma actually means that which cannot be separated from something. Like, for instance, the Dharma of fire is heat and light. The Dharma of water is liquidity and wetness. So the Dharma of the living entity is actually to be servant to Krishna. You can't separate it like that. So this word rasa is also very difficult to translate into English. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati said the nearest you can get is mellow. The mellows. No, it's not a word you hear in English now. You ever go on the street and somebody comes to you and says, you know, I'm just experiencing the mellows. Anybody knows? No, but Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati memorized the Oxford English Dictionary. He had an eidetic memory, no? Whatever he heard or saw once he could remember perfectly. So he swallowed the Oxford English Dictionary. That's why if you read the Brahma Samhita commentary, what does it sound like? Commentary on the Brahma Samhita. It sounds like I swallowed the English dictionary, you know. You know, for instance, we say 3/4. Do you know what Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati says? We say 3/4 of something. You know what he says? Tri-quadrilateral. Tri-quadrilateral. I'm not sure I can spell that word, It's all one word. Tri-quadrilateral. We say 3/4. We say Krishna. You know what Bhaktivedanta Saraswati says? The transcendental autocrat. Because he is, no? He's an autocrat. Yeah. We say Maya. You know what Krishna, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati says? Krishna's stupefying potency. Is it stupefying?
Yes.
Yes. It's stupefying. Yeah, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Ki Jai. So it's like he swallowed the English dictionary, So the idea is we should try to absorb our consciousness in Krishna, because you don't, you get absorbed in something else. And then we'll say, what happened to that back to Craig? He was such a nice devotee. What happened to him? It won't happen to you, don't worry. But that's come up. What happens? I've seen probably 200 or 300 devotees in my lifetime. That's happened to while living in the temple even. Living in the temple in Krishna's place, you go away. Why? Because we don't absorb our consciousness in thinking of Krishna. And then Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, no. This is the most important shloka in the Bhagavad Gita. It's so important it's repeated. And when Krishna repeats it, he gives even more emphasis. I promise you this, because you're my very dear friend. That's what he tells Arjuna at the end of the Bhagavad Gita. That if you absorb your consciousness in me, surely you will come to me. I promise you this, Krishna says, because you're my very dear friend. The Bible says in the purport we can all become like Arjuna. If we follow in Arjuna's footsteps, we can also get. Because otherwise we'll be thinking all kinds of other things. Okay, we'll stop here. Is there a comment or question? Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I attended something called the Shravana Utsav in Mayapur, where I heard from His Holiness Chandravali Maharaj. So I want to read the notes and ask for your comment if it's okay.
Sure.
So he gave a lecture on Sakyam, and I'll just read what I wrote. I hope it will be coherent, and then I just wanted to hear whatever came up for you from hearing it. How fortunate are the residents of Braj who have loving relationships or friendship with Krishna. I also want that. It requires spontaneous attraction to Krishna, but can be aspired for from any platform. Suritam Sava Dehinam, I am the well-wisher of everyone. Whatever a soul requires to serve, I will provide, is different from the friendship in Braj. Surit is the best of all friends, able to give you what you need to be happy. Sakyam is only on the spontaneous platform. Then it speaks about Ruchi and Ashakti should be the minimum, but you can aspire from any platform or from a lower platform by following in the footsteps of an eternal associate of Krishna. In that path, pray to them, glorify them, understand their mood of savor by their mercy. So anyway, that's incoherent. But
yeah, I understand. What comes to my mind? Okay, a couple of things come to my mind. Probably Chandramali is in Balaram's party. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Yeah, but something else came to my mind while you were reading. It's true, you can aspire from any platform. It's true. But we should be careful. Should be very careful. Because you don't really get to know your identity until you're in Bhava. You can aspire in Ruchi, in the Shakti, but you don't really get to know until we're in Bhava. And towards the end, when Bhava is almost manifesting into Prema. So we do have to be careful. Another way of looking at this as well is what Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami tells us. He said, that this very special Madhurya Ras is why Caitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, to give it. He said it had never been given before. Of course it had, but that was 8.64 billion years ago, day and the night of Brahmana. So pretty much it was never given before. No? So we should have the understanding that that is our destination. That is the destination of our sampradaya. It is very, very special. That is actually the mood of the Manjaris. That is what Caitanya Mahaprabhu is offering, the mood of the Manjaris. So, but also, the mood of the cowherd boys is also offered. But that is a decision which Lord Balaram makes. So I would say that we should have that understanding, that we're going to Goloka Vrindavan, because that is the goal of our Sampradaya. But we'll let Lord Balaram decide. That's probably a good mood to have, so that we don't fall into the category of artificially imitating, because artificially imitating is very dangerous. You can destroy your spiritual life like that. So we should have in the back of our mind, what should be in the forefront of our mind is, I am a servant of Lord Caitanya. That's very safe, because by being the servant of Lord Caitanya, we will automatically enter into Vrindavan. Why? Because if we're worshipping Caitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of a servant, who are we worshipping? Yeah. And Radha and Krishna, where are? If you're worshipping Radha and Krishna, where are you? Yeah, you're in Vrindavan. So it's indirect. It's given in this very special way. By serving Mahaprabhu in the mood of Dasiras, the gift is Goloka Vrindavan. So this is a safe mentality. To know that, okay, it's there in the background. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying it's there. Whether we get Radharani's party or Balaram's party, fine. We should let Krishna decide what it will be. And for now, let me just serve this movement. Let me serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Let me serve Srila Prabhupada and try and push forward this movement. With the understanding that one day, like my spiritual master used to say, that it's explained like this. This material world is like a dream. Did you dream last night?
For the first time, no.
No. Day before?
Yeah,
something, yeah. When you're dreaming, can anyone convince you it's not real?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Mostly?
Mostly no.
No one can convince you. So this material realm is like a dream. Everyone thinks it's real. And when we wake into spiritual consciousness, into transcendental consciousness, we rejoin the spiritual world. What happens to a dream after you've awoken from it? Very quickly forgotten. So that is there. It'll happen. My spiritual master says that you awake from your dream and Krishna will be there to greet you. You know what he told Gopakumar? The real Gopakumar, not the imitation one.
I missed you.
Don't tell him I said that. Oh, yeah, he said, Gopakumar, where have you been? I missed you so much. You've been away so long. Where have you been? Like that. Yeah, so this is our understanding. We should meditate on the mood of servitorship, being part of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, with the understanding that we will get that. We will either get, because actually Vatsalya is not so much our mood. We're not really in Vatsalya. Well, Prabhupada does mention you can have it, but we're not really. Our mood is Madhya. But friendship is not adverse to that. Whereas parental and Madhurya don't really go together. There's some rasabhas there. Yeah, so our mood is really Goloka Vrindavan, in the mood of Madhurya. But Balaram may say, no, I want you to come with me. And we'll say, sure thing, what do you want? Right. Is that right? That's what comes to my mind.
Yes, thank you. Just one question then, follow up from that. Where Maharaj had said, follow in the footsteps of Krishna. I mean, can we still, like you mentioned, Gopakumar, for example, or an Astasaki, or so on and so forth. How do we then, or Narottam Das Thakur, or how do we then meditate on great personalities in a safe way?
You see, that will come in its due time. That will come in its due time. And there are two ways of approaching that, actually. One is spontaneous, which is what our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati, and others, they recommend. Just follow the sadhana, follow the path, and it will come automatically. Then there's also the stepwise process. That's Manashiksha. Her Grace Oma Devi was talking about it. But it's not really recommended by our acharyas. You can do it. It's interesting, the person who wrote that book, that's Raghunath Goswami, but he didn't follow it. He actually followed the path of spontaneous manifestation, and that's safer in one respect. That's safer. Just to be a good devotee, serve, do the best you can, and gradually it will manifest. When devotees of Srila Prabhupada used to talk about this, wanting to know about their spiritual identity, Prabhupada would become angry. And the reason he became angry because of the danger of spoiling our spiritual life. He would, one disciple he told, when he tried to pursue this conversation, Prabhupada got very angry with him. And he told, when you are qualified, he said, I will come and I will reveal to you what your eternal rest is. It's a very precious thing, and it can only be realized when we're qualified. So we should be very careful about this. That is my caution to you. Be careful. We can understand, what's there, but to go around. Like your spiritual master gave a very nice example of this. I'm sure you remember it now. Because his name is Paul, and his second name is Cock. Spelled K-O-K. So he said, my name is Peacock. Yeah. He gave that example. Do you remember that? Yeah. So we should be careful. We can have the understanding, but we'll just be good devotees and let Krishna decide. Anyway, I'm cautioning you twice now. Is it okay? Yes. Okay. Yeah.
There's a nice song by Rajadas Thakur, Manashiksha, that tells the rescue of Nityananda.
We cannot enter into the pastimes of Krishna. So another way of looking at that is the person we call the spiritual master, who is a manifestation of Lord Nityananda. Yeah. So that is why we treat the spiritual master as good as God. He's not God, but we treat him like that because he can deliver Krishna to you. In fact, there's no other way to get. The only way you can get is if your spiritual master delivers it. Yasya prasadam bhagavat prasadam. Yasya prasadam narakati katopli. Spiritual master is not pleased, no chance. So this is why we should meditate on pleasing our spiritual master. Try your best to understand his mood and please him. Yeah. So some caution for you, Mataji. Is it alright? Okay. Oh, no, we're not done. Yes.
So in the conversation with
Grace.
Yeah, with Vasanti Mataji, then how does praying every morning to Tulsi Devi fit in with that conversation?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Yeah. You see, Tulsi's manifestation is for a specific purpose. Srila Prabhupada has brought her for a specific purpose because our goal is not Vaikuntha. So it's a similar mood. Like we can pray to anybody who's a great personality in Vrindavan, please get me entrance. But the thing is, she has specifically appeared for that purpose, to help us in that regard of our entrance into Vrindavan. That's why we pray to her. My desire is to please give me a residence in the pleasure groves of Sri Vrindavan. Like that. So her manifestation is there for that purpose. But we don't see that in the prayer, no? That okay, now we should meditate on our eternal rest. You don't find that in the prayer. What you do find in the prayer is here is someone who is qualified to give you that, and if we become a follower, she might bestow it upon us. So that's a different thing. By asking her, please make me a follower of the Kavadams as a Braja. Because mostly our advancement is due to the mercy of devotees. It's not really, we don't really make much advancement on our own. It's the mercy of other devotees. So if we're praying to her like that, please give me this. But we don't find in the discussion of her translation of her auntie, okay, I'm meditating on, I'm coming to you because I'm meditating on being a coward boy or a Manjari. No. But rather, I'm praying to you, please give me entrance. Do you see the difference?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Father.
Okay, are we done? We should be done because it's breakfast time. Shri Caitanya ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, the Divine Loving Lord Shri Nityai Prachandra ki jai, Salve Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Jai Gaur. Ashanti, one of the thing